In just a few moments, some details on a project from right here in Canada on the future of cars and future of electric vehicles. Perhaps the future of electric vehicles rests right here in Canada. Before we get to that, we have some news from Japan. Of course, it was a few weeks ago that the Quebec government got a lot of attention because they announced 2035. That was the year that you would no longer be able to buy a gas-powered vehicle in this province, 2035. Well, now reports from Japan, NHK, so one of the biggest broadcasters in Japan, reporting that Japan will do a similar type of legislation, but the year there is 2030. Now, that is ahead of, if you look across the globe, very few countries were on a faster timeline than Quebec set provincially here in 2035, but there are now multiple reports, and Japan's auto industry, very big. Think of the Hondas and the Toyotas and the Nissans of the world, and most of those are gas guzzlers, and Japan apparently going to set the date of 2030 for the switchover from gas-powered to electric and hybrid and the rest. Okay, let's get to our next guest. Joining me on the line is Flavio Volpe. He's president of the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association in Toronto. Flavio, how you doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Good. So, listen, there's this initiative here, design competition that has given us some beautiful renderings here, a concept of an electric vehicle. But I first want to ask you about your group, the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association. Break it down for our listeners. We make a ton of automotive parts in this country, don't we?
Yeah, we do. We make 2 million cars a year in this country, and there's about 400 companies that make about 75% of the components that are in those cars. You go buy a Toyota or a Ford, the assembly plants for those companies are like a jigsaw puzzle. And so there's a lot of companies from really Montreal to Windsor that make those pieces. They make suspension and infotainment and sensors and cup holders, and employ about 100,000 people, and we ship about $35 billion worth of parts every year, and some really exciting stuff happening from applications of AI and LiDAR from companies in Montreal to companies down in Windsor that are making tools with that are 3D printing metals, aluminum and steel. So it's a great time to be in the business.
And we spoke to one of those LiDAR companies on this program during our in-transit segment a little while back. So, we know that that's happening. Clearly, there's a paradigm shift in cars coming, right? The switch over to, electric or other vehicles that have zero emissions, right? So you guys have come up with this Project Arrow.
That's right.
Tell us what Project Arrow is.
So what we said was, I do interviews like yours, and we go around the world and sell the capabilities of the Canadian supplier sector. And what we've always theorized is, hey, I think we make every single part of a vehicle in Canada at volume for 20 or so automakers, but we don't have a Canadian automaker. For the last 6 years, we've been doing technology demonstration projects where we take cars made in Canada, like Lexus is made in in Ontario, and we take technology from companies like LeddarTech in Montreal, and we put it on that, and we send them to Silicon Valley. We send them to Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. I sat in the throne speech with the Prime Minister in December, invited by the office after what we did in the NAFTA negotiations, and I listened to him say, we want to have a zero-emissions economy in 2050, and transportation's got to lead the way. Well, we came back here and said, why don't we put our money where our mouth is? Why don't we design, engineer, and actually build a vehicle set to 2025 Canada motor vehicle safety standards, entirely Canadian, zero emissions, and why don't we use that as our calling card? We laid down the gauntlet, and the industry responded. 93 companies so far have signed up. And the first stage, and like you talked about as we started here, was we did a design competition. We opened it to Canadian university and college students across the country. We got over 25 submissions. 9 of them made our long list, 3 made our short list, and we chose one from a group of 4 students at Carleton University Design Engineering. And your listeners can see it on projectaero.ca.
Yeah, and I'm looking at it right now at projectarrow.ca. It looks stunning. We're with Flavio Volpe, president of the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association, based in Toronto, and we're talking about this Project Arrow. Now, Flavio, are you thinking of a future where you've got a car and it's called the Avro Arrow and it's a 100% Canadian company, or in your mind this Arrow project, well, it ends up with a Ford badge on it or a Toyota badge on it, but it's a Canadian design concept?
Somewhere in between, we're going to build one car, and we're going to do the homework for somebody who, if they want to build it out in production, we haven't skipped any of the steps. We're the industry association. We know all the regs. We lobbied for a lot of those regs. We know all the component suppliers. We represent them. This car will be roadworthy. What we think in this corridor from Montreal to Windsor is the only place in North America where we have a world-class IT sector that's overlaid with a world-class automotive manufacturing cluster. We're going to bridge those gaps in this project, and we hope and we predict that this section of the North American map is going to have a vehicle maker startup culture like Silicon Valley. So anybody who wants to make things at small batches, the Arrow is going to do all of your homework for you. Now, if somebody wants to take the Arrow from us and build it, or build it as the Arrow, or take all the homework we did and make cars in Montreal, in Ottawa, in Toronto, in London, in Vancouver, then we did our work.
I look across the world here, Flavio, and you mentioned Silicon Valley, which has almost become the new Detroit for the States.
Yeah.
Germany is getting their act in order. What Volkswagen is trying to do there for the electric futures is a pretty big deal. I don't know if you heard the story right off the top of the segment from Japan, where I think the government is sort of putting some pressure on the automotive sector there to ditch the gas car, go electric. You look at that worldwide competition, you think Canada, we've got the stuff to win?
Yeah, we definitely do. The first the electric vehicle technology is not new. The first patent for an EV in Canada was granted in 1893. Detroit Electric was making more electric vehicles in 1912 than Ford was making. What happened is it became the energy density of 1 unit of gas was a lot better than one unit of lead acid, and so we went the other way. The world is coming back around to it. California did a very similar announcement about a month ago about 2035 and no gas-powered vehicles. Those are the shifts. The governments have to make those shifts. For auto parts suppliers, listen, whether you're an electric vehicle or whether you're a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle or you're a plug-in hybrid, all of those components that go into a gas vehicle, except for the engine, still go in there. The business would be healthy for us regardless. What we are saying in this project is, hey, by the way, all of those subcomponent suppliers inside electric motors and e-gears, they exist here too. Linamar in Guelph makes an e-gear that if you challenge them to make 1 million of them a year, they will. And we're ready to go. TM4 out your way has been making electric motors for vehicles for 15 years. We're ready to go.
It sounds exciting. I haven't gotten it yet, but I've purchased my first electric car. I'm excited about the future. Hopefully Canada's a big part of that. Flavio Volpe, president of the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association. They're in Toronto, but check out the project called Project Arrow, and it's projectarrow.ca. Thanks so much, Flavio.
It's Montreal. Thank you.